Hello, friends. I wanted to share why I gave birth to all 7 of my full-term babies at home. There are so many reasons. Um, I know people have their reasons for going to the hospital, but I'll give my reasons for why I chose to have my babies all at home. Okay, number 1 is I don't believe that the medical system is trustworthy. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So it's becoming more and more evident. I don't think you can watch public TV and get through a few commercials without realizing that their concoctions of drugs that they use to supposedly help people are killing people. Okay, I don't know how many times I've heard that. Like, you got headaches, you got heart trouble, you got this trouble, that trouble. Ask your doctor about such and such a drug. It could cause death. It could cause this and that and the other problem, including death. Okay. So what was the lie of Satan from the very beginning? Do this bad thing. Just try it. I mean, you're not going to die. It's going to be good for you. People put these gorgeous actors in there and they have them act like, they took the drug and they're just fine and dandy and they're just happy as clams and just don't believe it, folks. You look around and people are getting dumber and sicker and fatter by the day. It's the drugs, I'm telling you. They're getting pumped into babies from the time they're born. The medical system would not be making such a killing if people weren't so sick. And they know that if they actually cured people of cancer instead of making cancer worse and making it come back, well, they would lose their billions in revenue from their golden standard of chemo and therapy and radiation therapy, which both actually cause cancer. No joke. It's crazy. So, if I went to a hospital to have a baby, the very same doctor that would be delivering my baby could also, on another floor of the hospital, be murdering babies. It happens. Doctors just do what doctors do. They get paid to do what they do. And it's scary how evil the medical system has become. But the main reason that I feel comfortable having babies at home is because I trust in God implicitly. He is so worthy of my trust. And he has delivered babies faithfully through the ages without the use of big hospitals and fancy machinery and monitors and all the stuff they use, the drugs, for ages. And honestly, the less people have had to do with the medical system, generally the healthier they've been. Just like, I guess that's why it's called pharmakeia in the Bible. Witchcraft. They've got their poisonous brews and they're just dishing it out. They throw all kinds of junk and garbage in there. That's why I avoid the medical system like the plague. We've literally dealt with all kinds of stuff that, a lot of people would just run to the hospital for. God has helped us through every time. Um, so yeah, did you know that when a woman goes to a hospital to have a baby, she's basically put on a conveyor belt for a C-section, for unnecessary and dangerous interventions, invasive and harmful interventions for her and for the baby? Yep, because guess what? You're told as you're pregnant, especially in the last trimester, you shouldn't lay on your back because it can cut off circulation to the baby. Well, guess what? When people go to have a baby at the hospital, usually, what do they put into? A position on their back. How does that make sense? Oh, it makes sense for the medical system because, they put the monitors on the baby too, and oh my goodness, after a few hours, look at that, the baby's in distress. We got to cut him out. Yeah, the baby's in distress. You put him in that way. It's ridiculous. A woman should be free to move around, should not be on her back for giving birth. The reason that horrible tradition started was so doctors could stare between the legs of a woman and get a good eye view of what's going on. It's ridiculous. It's doctor-centered care. It's not patient-centered. It's not science-based care, because the science shows that people like apes and a lot of other creatures do much better giving birth in a squatting position or on all fours. And that's how I gave birth to all my babies. I had midwives for the first 2 births, and I'm really glad I did. They were not certified midwives. They were trained wise women, as the community called it that I was in. I was in this commune type community. Anyway, very supportive, lots of women around, too many women actually. I had all kinds of ladies in there. But at least I knew them. I knew them all. They weren't wearing masks to cover their faces and weird robes, and they didn't hook me up to any machines. There was no machinery, no drugs, no induction type stuff. But they did try to put me on a chair at one point, like a birthing throne, with me leaning back a little bit. I immediately was like, oh, this is awful, get me out of here. So they didn't force me. They didn't try to strap me down or anything. Oh my goodness. I know birthing's come a long way. I've heard some terrible stories of doctors just putting women in awful positions for their own gain, for their own convenience. My own aunt, my dear sweet aunt that helped lead me to Jesus, when she was giving birth at the hospital, she was ready to have that baby. But because the doctor wasn't there, a nurse literally climbed onto her legs and pinned them together. It's like cruelty. Anyway, I know it's come a long way, and ladies, a lot of times they'll move around, they'll even be able to squat and stuff, but still, fear-mongering is a huge thing in the hospital. They're like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This could happen. They try to fear pressure you into doing things that you don't really want to do. And my mom told the story of how she wanted a drug-free birth. But when she was giving birth, I think it was her first, which is just about always the hardest, right? The doctor was starting to want to pressure her into taking an epidural or something like that. And my mom was not in a place to be able to advocate for herself very well. When you're laboring, I remember that first birth. Oh my goodness. Wondering how on earth does a woman ever do this twice? I highly respect anyone who would ever be willing to do this twice. Oh my goodness, I'm shaking. This is really a weighty subject. I really hope that I can get through to some ladies to consider home birth, because home birth is so beautiful, so natural and spiritual and powerful. And it's a way that your faith can be stretched and proven, because God is faithful. And he doesn't want our babies to come under the hands of these witch doctors, right? That are just waiting to inject their poison. And that is exactly what every single vaccine is, and every single drug. They have to be poisonous. They're patented concoctions. They're not just natural good God stuff. They can't patent the natural good God stuff. The patented stuff is where the big bucks are, and that's what they push for the most money, okay? Just follow the money, honey, and you'll find the corruption. So, my mom couldn't advocate for herself very well. My dad got in the face of that doctor and said, "You leave my wife alone." Go, daddy. So, I was blessed to not have any doctors pushing stuff on me, because I just chose to have my babies at home each time. And the first birth was very difficult, but, it's normal. It's normal to go through that difficulty. And yes, his head was big, and there was a moment there where he got stuck. His shoulders got stuck. It's called shoulder dystocia, I believe. But the midwives knew what to do, thanks to a very wise and famous midwife named Ina May Gaskin, who basically made popular an old and ancient and amazingly God-inspired maneuver that helps to free the baby from dystocia, and that is getting on all fours. And the women just put me on all fours. When they realized the baby was stuck, instantly he slid out. And so I remember that. And the next time I had a baby that was stuck, just got on all fours, and once again, out he slid. Thank God. Excuse me. So I hope I don't run out of space on my phone. So each one of my births was just a powerful experience. I had back labor very painfully in each one of my births. But we found a way to get around that. My husband would take a hot water compress right out of the crock pot. The crock pot was set on low, and he would use some thick rubber gloves, insulated, take a big cloth, like a hand towel, drying towel, and he would just soak it, wring it out, push it against my back very hard. I found that the heat and the pressure in combination greatly alleviated, didn't do away with it, but greatly alleviated the pain of back labor. So that helped. And also squatting and being in a good position, just being able to rock back and forth and stuff. And so if there are tips I could give women on giving birth naturally, I'd say don't try to avoid the pain, lean into it. It's gonna hurt. It's just part of the way that it works since the fall, right? In pain you shall bring forth children. There was a time when I was trying to have a birth without pain. And every time the pain came, I would rock and roll this way and that way, and I would kind of get out of it. And I think by doing that, I actually set my baby up for a wrong presentation, a abnormal presentation. She was sunny side up. She came out like this. And because of that, she actually never put pressure on me the way that most babies do as they're going down the birth canal. So that was the birth of my dear sweet Hope. And And she was 4 days in the coming, basically. It was 4 days of not too hard labor, but at the end there, it was just like, what's going on? And I had one person there with me, and besides my husband was at every birth, but, and thank God, my sister was there, my baby sister, ironically. I'd been like a mother to her, and now she was kind of mothering me. She goes, Christine, you just need to push that baby out, because I was at the verge of just total exhaustion. So I prayed to God for help. And with all my strength, I pushed and just pushed that baby out without any urge to push. It was an odd thing, but praise God, it worked. And there she was, beautiful. A little bluish, but not too bad. And she pinked right out, and she got really good outcar scores. And praise the Lord, He's faithful. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm never going to try to avoid the pain like that again. And I just leaned into it. And every birth after that was faster and faster. So the last one, the 7th one with my little Steven, was literally, I had prodromal labor, which is like, it's real, but it's like, it stops for some reason. So I had basically a whole night of that, where, and contractions were intense and everything, but then they just kind of petered off, and I was able to just go to sleep. I actually asked God at the end of the one night, I was like, God, can I please have a little sleep? And so the contractions just stopped. And my doula ladies from church that had been willing to help me with the birth, they went home. And then I called them again when labor came on again. And when it did, it hit so hard and fast that it was basically 1 hour and 45 minutes. Boom. He was out. So, but I leaned into it, and I squatted and I pushed and I just screamed him out like I scream all my babies out. The most sore thing of me when I had my first baby, it wasn't my womanly parts, it was my voice. I was so sore from screaming. I think they heard me a mile down the road. You know me, if you know me, I've got some lungs. Yeah, so I try to bury my face in the bed as I scream, but I'm not doing this again. I don't think I'm doing this again. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I done multiplied. So, I also thank God that my mom put into me a hatred of needles, because, from the first time I got a shot as a little girl, I lost the use of my leg. It was probably the polio shot, right? Polio gave me paralysis. Polio shot gave me paralysis. It's happened many a time. And so she looked into it. She's like, what on earth just happened? My little girl was walking and now she's not. And, she found out I could have dropped dead from that shot. But, they don't have to tell you, because the vaccine companies aren't liable, because the U.S. Supreme Court ruled however many years ago, it's like back in the 60s, I think, that vaccines are unavoidably unsafe. What about this whole safe and effective? No, it's a big, fat lie. I don't think there's been a bigger lie in history. Well, it's the same lie Satan told, right? You'll be fine. You won't die. It'll be good for you. It'll help you grow. No. So my mom stopped giving us shots, and she got a book, How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor, or something like that. And the next shot I got was when I was 11. And if I wanted to go to a Christian kids camp, I had to get a tetanus shot. Stupid. And none of these vaccines have been proven to actually save anybody's life. No. I don't believe it one speck. Faith and prayer, you know? And I think the majority of the cured people that got cured, if not all the cured people from cancer that actually took chemo and radiation or one or the other, those were the miracles. Those were where God stepped in and overrode the deathly harm that the drugs caused that the doctors were pumping in. I think it's like a 3% cure rate. So after I got that tetanus shot, immediately, like I hadn't even left the doctor's office, and I fell out in like a seizure. You know, I thought that I just fainted, but my sister called it a seizure. So I don't know which one it was. Whichever it was, I remember distinctly waking up on the floor, looking up at my mom, who was over me with her knees on either side of me, with her hands on my face, going, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I was like, where am I? What happened? And I had like flopped against a chair and hurt my back, so my back hurt. But after that, I got migraine headaches. I had never had a migraine headache that I remember before that. Got migraine headaches regularly, and I got an autoimmune disease, which I have to this day. Psoriasis. Anyway, very interesting. You know, they want to stick a huge gauge needle in women's backs to help them out of the pain of childbirth. Sorry. And the side effects that can go with that thing are not good, folks. Not good. And the harm that comes from inducing labor. You look at did you know that the statistics are showing the United States is one of the very worst of the first world countries for childbirth outcomes? There are more women and babies dying in the United States at birth time, despite all the drugs, it's because of them, all the medical assistance. No, it's not assistance. It's unnecessary, dangerous intervention that causes these babies, and people think that their babies are being saved by these doctors, but it's the very theme and scheme of Satan since the beginning. Cause a problem and then try to come in and act like the savior. It's awful. Birth isn't meant to be a disease or treated as a disease. It is meant to be a spiritual, powerful moment in time where you connect to God because you know you need him. Yeah. Because he's the one that created that baby inside of you, and he's the one that's supposed to get him out. And he's the one that cares more about your baby than anyone, even more than you. He wants life. His whole mission is life. Satan's whole mission is death. Why would you put your trust in a medical system that has for its symbol 2 serpents twined around a snake pole? Why? And what do snakes do? Snakes inject venom, and that is the favorite thing of the medical system. It's like just putting the poison in there, and that is what witchcraft is. And they want to call natural doctors crocs, but the real crocs and the real quacks, okay, they want to call them quacks. The real quacks are those witch doctors. You know? It takes a lot more faith to believe that those medicine pills that they give are going to heal you than to just believe that the good things God made for you out of love will heal you. And, you know, when I had Lyme disease and I was considering what to do, you know, everybody else in my community that was coming down with Lyme disease that I know of was taking penicillin. A lot of it. when they saw that bullseye on their body. But when I saw it, I said, God, I don't trust the medical system. I don't want to take penicillin. I don't want to take antibiotics. I was nursing or pregnant or both, like I have been for the last 17 years. And I said to my husband, I don't want to do those antibiotics. I want to pray, trust God, and take garlic, because I heard that it's poor man's penicillin. And recently I looked it up, and sure enough, there are better results for garlic killing the Lymes than penicillin. Garlic performs better in a petri dish, garlic extract or oil or whatever it is. So I just took 2 big old cloves at least every day, raw garlic. My Lymes went away. Praise the Lord. And, if you give birth naturally, the pain goes away as soon as you're done with it, pretty much. I mean, unless you have a really bad tear or something, I guess it could last longer. But, I needed a couple stitches for my first birth. I'd rather have a tear than a cut. Cuts take longer to heal. They do. Episiotomies take longer to heal than natural tears. And natural births, you get over healed way faster than C-sections, because of course C-sections are super damaging all these muscles and all this tissue, whatever gets cut right through, right? And it's a lot of potential damage to the baby. My cousin, this beautiful lady with a gift at piano. She has to sit sideways on the piano. She's like a concert organist. She does wonderfully. But she was ripped out of the womb by a careless doctor who dislocated her shoulder at birth. And there's so many stories. But, they don't hit the headlines because, the medical system owns the world in a lot of ways. It is the antithesis of trusting God, trusting in the arm of the flesh, right? And what do? Shoot it into the arm of the flesh. The poison. I really needed to go on this rant. I have wanted to do this. I was going to tell a different story, a miracle story, and I thought, what greater miracle than birth? And people need to know. And I hope that a lot of people are going to speak up about this. I think more and more they are. So they want to punch my babies with 23 shots or something by the time they're 2. 78 by the time they're like 15. I'm saying no. No to all of them. And my babies are happy and healthy and peaceful. And get this, because I don't buy the whole bunk and garbage that you can't co-sleep and you can't nurse, and you can't sleep well, you can't lay there and nurse your baby in your bed, whatever junk and garbage. I know there's some people that might be dangerous for, okay, if you're really heavy set, or if you're, too hard of a sleeper, yeah, you could roll over on your baby. But, when I'm a mom with a new baby, I'm super sensitive about this. But anyway, I've co-slept with all my babies, and they all slept through the night from day 1. The only times that they woke up was to nurse and to go potty, and I potty trained them all from day 1, pretty much. Hey, how do you do that? You say, well, it's actually pretty easy. They don't want to go in their pants. They usually make a fuss about it, and they like to wait if they can. Especially right as soon as they wake up, I give them a potty trinity and just put them on the potty. So in the middle of the night, instead of them pooping their pants, they would wiggle and squirm in the bed. I'd feel that, and I'd get them up. I'd train them from birth. The first few weeks, I would train them when they feel that need to go in the night. They just get up. I just hold them up in a little squat position, bare bummed over a little potty. They took the potty trinity happily. And then they would nurse and go back to bed, go back to sleep. Sleep with me peacefully through the night. It was awesome. It's awesome. I didn't have this postpartum depression. I think that was because of lack of drugs and lack of C-section. I'm sure there are people that have a natural birth and whatever, and they still have it. And I'm sure there's contributing factors, but I think biggest factors would probably be a lack of sleep and too much drugs and maybe not enough, emotional and physical support, whatever. There's all kinds of reasons. I don't want to proclaim to be some sort of expert on it because obviously I haven't had to do it. But man, getting a good night's sleep is big time important, folks. And, bravo to those awesome fathers that are there to help with the babies. But my husband, I don't think he changed 10 diapers. Not to badmouth him, but he's just not that kind of a servant kind of guy. He's a kind of go to the work, come home, get his meal, and chillax kind of guy. And so, God bless him. I love him, and I'm thankful for him. He's brave. It takes a brave man to let his wife have babies at home. But, he always supported me through that. And I could have music and soft light, and I could, sing through it and just know that the people there have my back, that they love me, they care about me truly, not like some hospital is swarming with doctors and nurses that I don't even know that, or, barely might know. And I mean, just this one thing even, that men are delivering babies. Come on, folks. Come on, ladies. Really? Christian ladies. I don't see how Christian ladies can stand that. A strange man. Any man besides their husband seeing them in that state. It's not biblical. Midwives are biblical, okay? Midwives, not mid-men. Mid-husbands, whatever. The one birth I had with only my husband there, they call it an unassisted birth when you don't have a professional. And I call it assisted because I feel like I get more assistance from doulas and midwives who love me than people get at the hospital. I've heard some stories of them just being left alone to labor. My doulas and my midwives and my husband have been there full time through the whole thing. They're not tapping their watches, wanting to go somewhere else, called somewhere else to some other birth. They're there for me. And it's awesome because it's peaceful. And that's one of the main things that you need for a birth. You need peace. You need to know you got this. God's got this. It's going to be okay. No matter what happens. Literally, even if the baby were to die, God forbid. God is the one who holds the power of life and death in his hands. Babies have come back to life through the prayers of their mother, the prayers of faith. God's got this. He has a plan for it all. You've got to trust him. Doctors, they're not trustworthy. Just telling you. And what's all the money for? Babies in the NICU, I can't stand how much they charge daily for babies to go in the NICU. Back in the olden days before they had all these fancy NICU things, people would just wrap a preemie up in some warm things and set them close to the fireplace or the wood stove, not too close, but just they knew, they sensed, they could tell what's just the right space there so the baby stays nice and warm. And they would hold that baby and love that baby, and the baby got mother's care. Breaks my heart to see these babies in the NICU just left alone, just in these incubators, as if there's some sort of little machine that just needs a machine. No, they're heart people. These babies, that even doctors have given up on babies, and then when they were held to their mother's chest, they got that spark of life back because they're like, there is my mother. There is the one that I've been attached to all these months. This is where my life was drawn from. I've got to be with her. And the babies live. It's called kangaroo care, where you put them skin to skin. It's very important. The medical system is just now catching on to this. It's so true. God knows what babies need, and he gives them mothers. Oh, mothers, don't let the medical system dictate how you care for your baby. If you feel that they need something, don't let them go, oh no, protocol. Please throw a fit. Don't let them take your babies away from you. That's my humble suggestion. We're spiritual, and the medical system wants to make it so chemical and so natural and so evolutionary based instead of really truly based on what's true. We are spiritual beings that we need to have love, or else we'll die. We will. We need hope, or we'll die. Another thing about having babies at home, you don't have to follow all the protocols. You look into what's healthiest, what's best for your baby. Instant whisking away, instant cutting of the cord. Not good, folks. The baby could get 20% more blood pumped into him and be so much healthier for it if you just wait. Delayed cord cutting. Okay? And there have been babies that died instantly upon their cord getting cut. Birth, cut, dead. It was doing just fine till cut. Babies need that blood. They need that connection. And they should be laid on their mother's belly and just left with their mom to snuggle, to get over the trauma of that, because it was a traumatic event. Most likely. Although my babies, from minute one, appeared peaceful. And from the first days, they were just smiling. They never got shots. They never got their eyes accosted with whatever they do in their eyes. They didn't get whisked away and roughly scrubbed and tested and dropped like doctors want to see, do they have this reaction? Do they have that? And they treat them like little guinea pigs, like they're just little, test subjects. They're not. And these are the first wirings of the brain that are happening. No wonder so many people deal with stress and trauma and PTSD their whole lives. This is the start they're getting these days in the hospitals. It is outrageous. Unnatural, unwholesome, unloving, just mechanical, cold, and cruel to me. I just see these babies. It just makes my heart. Just grieves my heart. I don't want to become a bawling baby right now. I want to tell you these things. These are important things, okay? The baby doesn't need a bottle first thing given to it. A baby needs to be put to its mother's breast. Needs to make that connection. And breastfeeding isn't always easy, if we're going to go there. I had an infection one time, mastitis or something. Literally felt so bad to nurse my baby Davy for like 2 weeks. I would just endure it like torture. It felt like 10 needles going into me every time he sat. Just terrible. He was doing fine. He was growing well. You could say I was nursing him wrong. He was number 4. I know how to nurse babies. But this guy, I don't know what happened. Some sort of infection. But I didn't even consider giving him a bottle and quitting the nursing because I knew this was the best thing for him. His formulas have all kinds of junk. So I'd curl my toes and I'd just go as I was nursing him. Just try to relax. It was Very painful. Worth working through, though. Worth it. Just like the pain of bearing a child naturally. I think that it helps women to feel a sense of accomplishment and faith and power and their love for their baby, confident. If they can go through that for their baby, then whatever comes, they'll be able to handle it by the grace of God. I think that the drugs that women take to get out of the pain could very well be the cause of a lot of this postpartum depression. Just my gut feeling. So, what's it going? Cord cutting, whisking away. Yeah, bathing. You don't have to scrub the baby with soap that's, I'm sure, got toxins in it. Everything in the hospital has toxins, right? Actually, a hospital is a great place to go to get sick. If you want to get sick, just go to a hospital. No, I pray for protection and I go visit people sometimes. But, yep, it's definitely a place to get sick. They've got super bugs and stuff that they can't get rid of now because of the overuse of antibiotics. They've created their own monsters. Trust in God. Oh, God. Help us. All my babies were happy and healthy, smart as whips and sharp as tacks. They still are, except I did lose one, and I'm going to address that just really quickly. She died of silent pneumonia as we were homeless. My husband was an alcoholic at the time. Thank God he's not now. But she died from lack of warmth, number one, because cold too long and you just can't handle it. We were living in our coats and hats, and we were in a borrowed little 3-season camper during one of the coldest winters Pennsylvania had seen in years. The ice was about an inch thick. On the inside of our bedroom window, I had all kinds of blankets hanging over it, but it was too cold for my baby. I had just weaned her as I was pregnant, and I didn't know about tandem nursing at the time, and I thought I had to wean my first baby as I was pregnant. I learned later that you don't have to. Oh boy, sounds like my baby's crying. I gotta go. Anyway, our cabinets were pretty bare. I didn't have much to give my baby besides noodles. I would have loved to give her avocados and, all kinds of good superfoods, but we didn't have money. We were dirt poor. So the doctor who got people on her case after she died suddenly stopped breathing. They tried to say that for lack of a vaccine, she died of pneumonia. It is not for lack of a vaccine that my baby died. Oh, God. 1 million babies die every year of pneumonia, but the doctors will attack the family of the one that dies outside of the hospital. So we didn't trust the hospital. We didn't know what she had, but she was our angel. She saved us from a lot of things. God bless her. I think I need to go. I hope that the things I've shared can help somebody.